Hey everyone, this is Dylan, and today I'm going to be doing a movie review for you guys. So the movie I'm reviewing today is Antichrist. So I took advantage of the Barnes & Noble half-off Criterion sale, and I had heard a lot about Antichrist, so I decided to pick it up. And I gave it a watch, and let's get into what it's about. It follows a couple who is recovering after the death of their toddler, and they go off to a cabin and try to work things out with each other and kind of process their grief and depression there. That's basically it for the synopsis, and I want to start this off. If you've never seen Antichrist, it needs to be a warning, because this is a very graphic and disturbing movie. So it does deal with a lot of grief and depression, and I think that it does a very good job of kind of taking the viewer to that place. And they do it in a lot of different ways, and it's almost surrealist in some aspects of this movie where we're not entirely sure what is real and what's not real, specifically in these certain scenes, and it is broken up into chapters. So each chapter deals with a different topic of the grief and depression cycle. And so I think that that is a very interesting thing that Lars Von Trier did. He directed this movie, and he is pretty well known for having some pretty crazy movies. The people talk about quite a bit as being disturbing and things like that. The only other Lars Von Trier movie I have seen is The House That Jack Built, and I liked that one quite a bit. It was also broken down into chapters, and I didn't think anything was too crazy about that movie. This movie, there is definitely some stuff, body horror, that is quite shocking. I mean, body horror is supposed to be visceral, and I think when you add the element of the body horror that takes place in this movie, it adds an entirely other layer. Adds an entirely new layer to the body horror, and it is pretty disturbing. I was sitting there, I knew one of the scenes that was going to happen, one of the major scenes, and so I was pretty much waiting this entire movie for it to happen, and it's really kind of slow and doesn't really do a whole lot until the last 20 minutes, and that's where things kind of just go off the rails. And the last 20 minutes, I was like curled up in a ball and was just kind of had my hand over my face and just literally could not. It was visceral. It was a really visceral reaction that I was having, and I think that is probably very common for people to have such a visceral reaction to the stuff that had happened. Willem Dafoe and Charlotte Gainsbourg are very good in these roles, especially Willem Dafoe. It's quite an interesting movie to see him in. He's a very acclaimed actor, and it was interesting to see him in such an interesting role with some of the things that happened to this character. And this movie, really, you get that sense of depression and anxiety and grief. And I think a lot of that has to do with Lars Von Trier's writing of the script. And he did this during a major depressive episode where he was hospitalized. And I think a lot of that really does come out in the movie, and it's interesting for sure. I did end up enjoying this movie. If I can say that I ended up enjoying it, I did end up liking this movie, I would say. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I could definitely see myself watching this again. I know a lot of people don't really want to watch this ever again, and I could definitely understand why. I do think that this was quite a good movie. I loved the visual aesthetic, the cinematography of this movie. I think that it was quite interesting and visually pleasing. Not necessarily the things that were going on in the frame, but especially towards the last 20 minutes. But I think that the overall aesthetic of this movie was interesting. It kind of goes in between black and white, and all the colors are very muted when we do have color, and I think that it's quite an interesting movie, and I would definitely recommend checking it out. But I definitely think that you should be warned before you check it out in case stuff like that is not for you. And I mean, worst case scenario, if you think that you might have an issue watching this and you want to watch it, look up what's going to happen, because I think that you can still read about it and then watch it, and because it's hard to think of what the exact things that's going to happen. I think that it's hard to imagine that. So then when you see it on screen, it's just as shocking and just as horrific as what you may or may not have imagined. But I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy this movie. That is it for this review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below if you've seen Antichrist and what you thought of it, whether you liked it or you didn't like it, and why. And remember, if you're not already subscribed and you'd like to be, please hit that subscribe button down below and give this video a like if you liked it. Thank you guys for watching, and have a great day. Bye.